What's going on? What's happening? Welcome to Since Y'all Asked. And I've decided, right, because I've done a couple things here and there, but I need to get consistent with the posting. Somebody might want to hear what I have to say about some random topic that I might be discussing on a day, whether I'm sharing a Bible verse or today, as we are less than a week away now from the NFL draft. And those that know me know that I'm a bit of a nerd about that kind of stuff. I wanted to get into a bit of that. I've done this before, and what usually ends up happening is I listen back through it, and I decide just to throw it away. I just trash it. Nah, no one cares about that. Not going to do that this time. I am going to cut it up into some shorts just for smaller takes on things. This is going to be like the straight no chaser as I'm driving home, me just kind of rambling and pontificating about things that I think about this, that I think are healthy, right? Because there's some unhealthy practices around the NFL draft, as you may or may not know, depending on how much you like it, how much you get into it. So I'm going to start at a place where I feel like a lot of folks are going to need some assistance on this coming Thursday, because you're going to tune into the NFL draft on ESPN or wherever else NFL Network, right? Following somebody online, and those pundits are going to go on and on about who they feel should be the pick, so forth and so on, and inevitably, most likely, unless you are a fan of the Chicago Bears still, right? Because if you're still a fan, that means you weren't on Justin Fields needs to keep the job train. If you are still a fan of the Chicago Bears, then as you're most likely expecting, they're most likely going to take Caleb Williams, right? That is most likely going to happen. But the thing I wanted to offer, right, the thing I wanted to say, the thing I continue to tell myself, which helps me in my fandom of the Atlanta Falcons, which, as you may guess, has been an up and downhill kind of thing, is the truth is, y'all, and this is going to be where I cut in for the short video. Just because Mike Mayock and all these other people have specific draft boards does not mean that your favorite team shares that draft board. So just because they believe that one player is better than another does not believe that your team believes that that player is better than one player or another. So if a team says they're going best player available, and they pick somebody who Mike Mayock didn't have as the best player available, doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that they have a different view of things. I think that 10 people can look at the same thing and come away with a different understanding, a different definition. And I think that the NFL draft is a place where this happens often, right? Where I've done 50 million mock drafts, right? And in each one of them, I've always gotten to take Dallas Turner at pick 8, right? And then the NFL draft comes around and the Falcons select Quinion Mitchell, right? Cornerback. I like him. Right? I like him a lot. But, oh, man, how could they skip on edge and blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that? Like, I am inside the building at Flowery Branch helping them to create the draft board that ultimately decides which player we're going to take. Like, I have any kind of insight into who they believe is a better prospect, right? Because it's true, right? These wide receivers are out here, and they look really, really good. You know, my thing is, if Neighbors is there, I'm taking Neighbors unless somebody trades me something to move down where I can get both one of these defensive ends and one of the cornerbacks in the first round. Otherwise, I'm most likely just gonna stick and take Neighbors. That's me, but I ain't in charge of nothing but this little video thing here. So, yeah, like, you know, and even how you stack Dallas Turner versus Jared Verse versus Leatu Latu, right? That entire thing, like, it's up for other people's, it's what other people think. It's up to people's perception as to who's the best player and then what you do because of those things, right? Since y'all act, where I'm at is I was really, really big on Leatu Latu until I had some conversations with myself. I said to myself, they say you can't coach speed, right? A player can build strength. A player can develop moves, right, and technique. but you can't coach speed, right? A player is either fast or not fast. You're either going to be super fast or you're going to be super slow, right? It shows up every turn, right? And I don't know that speed is a must-have amongst defensive ends, because most of the running that they're going to be doing, if they are being successful as a defense, is the 5-6 yards that it takes to get from wherever they're starting to the quarterback through whatever offensive tackle or tight end or running back, whomever is out there trying to stop them from hitting the quarterback, right? But so, yeah, I was really big on Laiatu Latu, right? Because as I look at players in the NFL, those that win most consistently at edge, at defensive end, are players who have a technique that is unquestionable, right? And I often say to people around this time, like, the NFL cares nothing about your bull rush, young man. And if all you got is a speed rush, you know what I'm saying, you might get me one time, but then your career is going to be over. See Vic Beasley, right? And so I was really big on Laiatu Latu because this kid got hands. This kid apparently practiced judo or something. I'm making all of this up because I don't know. But his technique is chef's kiss. It's great. It's fantastic, right? He's got the injury stuff, right? And I think with the injury stuff, I don't think you drop him lower on the board. Either he's on the board or he's not, right? Either he's draftable or he isn't because of that kind of injury, right? Either I'm going to take the kid or I'm not going to take the kid. I don't have him off my board, but after I considered that place, that understanding of, hey, can't teach speed, right? That's not something like you can get maybe a little bit faster if you practice at it, but can't teach speed, right? And because of that, right, because of just the differences in strength at this point, it's my belief that a good coaching staff can teach technique, should teach technique. In fact, if your coaching staff isn't teaching technique, it's most likely the reason why your franchise is trash, right? If a player has to be coming in what they're going to be full-term and long-term, then we aren't doing something right. So with that understanding and that trust in the new brain trust here in Atlanta, I've kind of changed up my rankings. Initially, like, again, Laiatu was first. I think I had Verse second, and then Dallas Turner was third, just because I wasn't really high on him for whatever reason. I think it's because I root for Georgia as well, and he went to Alabama, so boo on you. But, you know, I'm a realist as well. Anybody you ask him, he'll tell him, other than the Saints, because they're trash. I can come around on a person, place, or thing, right? I now have it where I believe Dallas Turner is my number one, Verse is my number two, and Laiatu is my number three, because what they each need to grow into as they continue on their trajectory and become NFL players, what each of them needs to improve upon. There are two who have something, you know what I'm saying, with Verse and with Turner, what they need to improve upon is technique. What Laiatu needs to improve upon is speed and strength. And I think it's going to be more difficult to improve upon speed and strength than it will be to improve upon technique. Because of that, he drops to number 3 for me. But quiet as kept, loud as shouted. I hope we trade down and take whichever one is there, because I have them all rated so close in my eyes, right, as I look at it. Yeah, so that's the take, right? That's my understanding. That's what I see. That's what I get. Where I get caught up on, right, and now we're getting deep into some Falcon stuff, is as I watch, because I watch too much content. It's the truth. I watch a lot of people talking about, oh, the Falcons gonna do this, and oh, the Falcons gonna do that, and they say the reason why is because of Raheem Morris's scheme, or they're gonna take this type of offensive player because Zach Robinson. But the truth is, Raheem Morris is the head coach, and Jimmy Lake is the defensive coordinator. So if you're going to look anywhere for defensive, like what type of defensive players that the Falcons might potentially like, it's going to be at the University of Washington, the Huskies defense when he was a defensive coordinator. Because I think that is most closely going to resemble what it is that we're doing, right? I think judging off of what happened in LA as a call as to what Raheem Morris is going to want to do, I think it's flawed. I think if that's the main thing, oh, we're going to go after a small wide receiver because that's what they had. Like, no, bruh, like, we don't know. It's all a guess. I think that's the thing that frustrates me often in the NFL draft kind of landscape. It's people who talk about stuff like they know without a doubt, and that if you disagree with them, you're wrong. When you're all guessing. We're all guessing. Nobody knows what the offense in Atlanta is going to look like because Zach Robinson has never been an offensive coordinator. Nowhere. Not once. So when you tell me without a shadow of a doubt, oh, they're going to be a zone blocking team, you don't know that. You're guessing. Right? Because of course you expect for not players, but coaches and people really to pick up things as they move along in life, right? As you progress, the people that you are around as you're growing shape kind of who it is that you grow into. 1,000,000,000% I get it. But just because Zach Robinson spent several years with the LA Rams doesn't mean that his system is going to look exactly like the system that needs a Matt Stafford, right? Those things they're not truly comparable. You can guess at it, right? The same way, just because the Rams run a specific style defense doesn't mean that the Falcons are most likely to need this type of defensive tackle or that type of edge, right? We don't need a big edge. We need a small edge because we're running a 3-4 and our edge is going to be an outside linebacker. We don't know. All of those things we speak on like we know, we have no idea. Now, there are players that I prefer over others, right? But that's just my preference, right? And again, I'm not in a room drawing a draft board for anybody. And so when I watch on Thursday night and Friday and Saturday, I'm going to do my best just to like grin and bear it, right? Because what if I'm wrong? Or what if they're wrong? Right? It'll all come clear in the wash. Right, the things that I can see clearly, right, I can speak on are those places that I've drawn conclusions. Like, I've seen a lot of people talking about how we might take Michael Penix if he's there in the second round. And I scoff at that a bit because the moment that we signed, we went out and signed Kirk Cousins, right? What that showed me is, hey, we could potentially still take a quarterback in this draft, but chances are it's not going to be Michael Penix. Why? And it's not going to be Michael Penix. It's not going to be J.J. McCarthy. It's not going to be Bo Nix, right? It might be somebody later who we might be grooming as a backup, right? And we look to next year or the year after that for a starter to take over for him. Because I like to live in the, hey, everything is going to go great world, right? And if everything goes great, then Kirk Cousins is the quarterback in Atlanta for 4 years. So if everything is fantastic, Kirk Cousins is the quarterback in Atlanta for 4 years. So what that means is, and I like Michael Penix as a prospect, but he needs to play now. You don't want Michael Penix, right, at 24, 25, sitting for 4 years. That's not what you want. Maybe some people do want that, but I think that would be a mistake. Likewise, people are really high on J.J. McCarthy, which I don't get. I don't like him as a prospect because I believe that if you're going to another level of a thing, you should at least be the best at the level that you're in right now. And if your talent level couldn't convince your coach to change their offense with you as the starting quarterback, that means you ain't got it. So why do I believe you're going to get it now that things are harder? Now that defensive are faster, right? Your coach, I run the ball. How about running the ball? Threw the ball like 7 times against Penn State, and he wasn't even the coach there, right? They had the other guy filling in because Harbaugh is in trouble, and Michigan's probably going to be in some trouble here. But I'm not going to speak on that because I don't know a whole lot about it. Don't really care. Again, go Dogs. But the thing is, for me to consider J.J. McCarthy in the top anything of this draft, right? Anything before the 4th round, I would have had to seen him show up in such a way in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which I think is where it is. Again, I don't know a lot about Michigan. Tried it to my head, not my heart. He would have had to have been so great that Harbaugh said, you know what? I really like to run the ball. However, the talent that this kid has is too undeniable for me to do anything other than throw the ball at least 30 times a game. If it's not doing that, I don't want it. And him coming out and saying he's the best quarterback in the draft, I think is some bull. I think he's just blowing smoke. Because I don't think he would draft him. Even if he didn't have if he wasn't at LA, right, where they had Justin Herbert already installed, I don't think he would draft JJ McCarthy. I think we give allowances for whatever reason to JJ McCarthy when people consider him, and I don't want to just dump on the kid, but I think folks have to take a more close look, right? Because you say, oh, this player didn't get a lot of rep because of the offense that they were in and how it was set up, and because of that, their talent must be less at some positions. But for some reason with JJ McCarthy, it's the exact opposite. The offense wasn't set up for him to throw the ball a lot, and so we have to give him the benefit of the doubt for the throws that he did make. Not that running back who shared carries, right? And because he shared carries, didn't like show all that he had. We don't give him a pass and say, oh, still select that kid at the top of the second round. No. And if I'm not doing it in one place, I'm not doing it in another. Either it's a rule or it's preference. And someone somewhere prefers JJ McCarthy, and more power to you. I don't believe it. What else? What else can we talk about? Lad McConkey, right? And again, I am a Georgia fan, so if you want to say, he's a homer, turn this off right now. Do what you feel. Do what you feel. What I saw for 3+ years, and I didn't get it, I was mad about it, to be honest, the first couple years, is this guy played well enough that both A.D. Mitchell and Jermaine Burton got less playing time. Right? He was a 3-star. They were 4/5 stars, right? Oh, everybody in the industry loved them. And they couldn't get on the field because this little white boy is out here chopping up defenses, right? You think, that's just the first year. They don't expect it. He's a little bit faster than anything. But then he does it again and again and again. It's like, at some point, we got to get this man his fly. Oh, he's not fast. And then he runs 4.39. So what say you now? Oh, he's little. Oh, no, he's 5'11", 189 pounds, which isn't huge. But he's bigger than Tank Dell. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what are we really saying here? Right? So I think we need to put a little bit more respect on his name, right? If people are saying A.D. Mitchell can go in the first round, but not Lad McConkey, I'm asking why. Because again, A.D. Mitchell couldn't get on the field at times at Georgia because Lad McConkey was on the field at Georgia, balling out. Right. Talk about another Georgia prospect, and then I'll get off of it, I think. No, let me say this real quick. Javon Bullard is my number one safety by a large margin. If we can get him here in Atlanta in the second or third round, I am cheesing from ear to ear. He's one of my guys. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. Plays harder than most guys. Is faster than I thought he was even, right? And ball hawk, will hit you hard. Good, great in coverage, right? Great helping against the run. Just an all-out baller. The guy I want to talk about, though, is Kamari Lassiter, who we may or may not draft. I wouldn't be bad about it, right? He ran a 4.6 something, they said. And to that, I say I've watched him play for several years, and I'm comfortable taking him at 43 if he's there. He's a monster. My CB2, still my CB2 behind Quinion Mitchell, because I have not seen a thing watching games. Again, I don't get into all the testing and stuff because I think some of that players just train for a test. Right, same thing as like in school when you teach for the test and we're above our grade level, but you still can't coherently put together a critical thinking essay, right? So I've watched Terry and Arnold play, and I've watched Kool-Aid McKinstry play, right? Haven't watched so much Nate Wiggins because, again, go Dogs. But I don't know the thing that I can say I saw clearly that any of those guys did that Kamari Lassiter doesn't do, and doesn't do better. They say he's slow now because he ran a 4.6, but I've watched him, right, not get run past in several years. Oh, he didn't get a lot of rep. It's because cats weren't throwing at him. Folks weren't throwing at Kamari Lassiter at such a rate that people believe that Dylan Everett, right, who is now the slotted starter at outside corner at Georgia, is trash. People believe he is not good, But the truth is, cats would only throw his way because Kamari Lassiter got the other half of the field on lock. Somebody's going to get them a really good player because other people got scared about some made-up numbers, right? And they ain't made up, of course. Testing is testing. You want to see a cat run fast. But I think you are what you play like, not what you test like. And I've seen Kamari Lassiter be great. What else is there? I don't know if there's anybody else that have like a burning kind of thought about, right? I've done so many mock drafts. It's a shame. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about that right quick before I turn this off and don't get into it until after I post it. Again, I think like with those 7 picks before the Falcons pick, you're going to see one or two things. Either somebody's going to trade up for J.J. McCarthy and there'll be 4 quarterbacks taken, or nobody will trade up for J.J. McCarthy and only be 3. Chances are all 3 wide receivers go unless the Chargers or the Titans decide that they want an offensive lineman instead. People aren't most likely going to go ahead and take Brock Bowers, though it's a mistake. I would love him here in Atlanta if we didn't already have Kyle Pitts and needed to see what we had in him before deciding ultimately what to do with his contract. Right? Is he bad, or was Arthur Smith just terrible at utilizing his talent? And I think it's that. So yeah, I think in the first round we'll be sitting there and either, right, J.J. McCarthy's going to be there, Joe Alt is going to be there, or one of Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze is going to be there. And I can't imagine the case, other than potentially Joe Alt, that someone isn't chomping at the bit to get to our spot. Either, hey, we need to go ahead and get J.J. McCarthy because we have read, we're smoking the same thing everyone else is smoking, and we believe that he is the next great. So Minnesota or Oakland or Denver decide to give us some stuff to come up to 8 to take him. Or more likely, hey, we need to get ahead of Chicago and grab this 3rd wide receiver because all of them are great. I agree, all of them are great. I definitely like Malik Neighbors more than Rome Odunze. But I think all of them are really, really good. Right? And so, hey, I don't even know what team. Maybe, I don't even know who would want to get up ahead of Chicago, but I'm sure some teams will. Maybe the Jets want to get up ahead of Chicago to take that wide receiver. I think that is our best case, because if we are drafting best player available, and again, my rankings have nothing to do with what's going on in Flowery Branch, but I have Malik Neighbors ahead of all 3 edge rushers, as I consider them. And I have Quinion Mitchell ahead of 2 of those edge rushers. For me, it goes Malik Neighbors, Dallas Turner, Quinion Mitchell, Rome Odunze, Jared Verse, Leatu Latu. That's me. That's how I see it. That's how I stack it up. And I would not like to overdraft a player. I think oftentimes I've gotten frustrated with the Falcons because a player that I think they can get a little bit later, they take hella early. God forbid they trade up to take him. I'm like, what? We could have got him if we just sat there. Chances are probably not, right? Again, I trust that people who get paid to do this thing that I just do as a hobby know more about it than me, have more resources to commit to it than me. That's why they know more about it than me, right? And so with that kind of clarity, if they say, hey, we got to stay here at 8 and take Jared Verse because he's the top edge rusher on our board, and we believe that somebody else might take him if we wait until 10 or 11 or 13 or 17 or 19, then all right, let me try to get in line. No. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, right? So, yeah, that's kind of what I think about it. If we can trade down, that becomes my best case scenario, because I would love if they could figure out a way to get either Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, Leatu Latu, and Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, right, in the first, right, because I don't think you have to take him in the first, or Kamari Lassiter. If we come away with those, like a defensive end and a cornerback of the ones that I just said in the first 2 picks, then I think we are winning, right? I would love to get some draft capital for next year. Chances are we're going to lose some stuff because of tampering. Shout out to Kurt for just throwing that out there. I should have had this angle the whole time. This is so much better. Yeah, there are wide receivers that I like. There are wide receivers I do not like. Right, and it's not just dog stuff because I love Ricky Pearsall. I think Keon Coleman's going to be very good. Who else do I like? I like Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan, but I can't really tell the difference between the two to know which one I would stack above the other. I'm not huge on Malachi Corley or Roman Wilson, but I wouldn't hate it. Like they're not players I'll be like, why would you do that right here? What are you thinking? A player I like who should be available a lot later is Malik Washington out of Virginia. I think he is a player, as well as Jacob Cowing, who I haven't heard so much about from like when I'm watching people and they're stacking up. Oh, here are my top 10 of this position or that position. I think he's really good. He reminds me a whole lot of Tank Dell, who really showed out. I really liked Tank Dell last year, but I was afraid because he was so small, and then he got to Houston and balled out. I see Jacob Cowing in the same way that I saw Tank Dell before the draft. A defensive tackle. There are players I like and players I don't like. I'm not big on Rook or Roll. I don't know how you say his name, but he sounds, in my head, it sounds like a villain from One Piece. He's okay, right? I don't really go for Clemson defensive linemen because I haven't seen them do great in the league. But again, I'm trying to not scout the front of the jersey. Chris Jenkins from Michigan and Michael Hall from Ohio State are players that I like. Braden Fix or Fiske or however you pronounce it, I like. I like the kids from LSU, but I don't see how they're all rated so high when the defense was so terrible. That's what part of me, like, that's as I look at players and I'm like, if you're so good, then why wasn't your defense better, right? Who's the defensive tackle that I would love for us to take? I really like Dwayne Carter. I wish he was bigger. Kid out of Duke. I think he's really good. I think he's going to be really good. There's a police officer stopped in the middle of the street. Oh, he wanted to turn. He didn't know. There's not a whole lot of defensive tackle that I like. But there are a couple players. There's a guy, I think his name is Boyd. I think he went to Northern Iowa or somewhere like that. I think he might be pretty good, but you should be able to get him in the 5th or 6th round. I like a lot of players. I like some linebackers. I really like Edrin Cooper and Junior Colson. Jermaine Trotter Jr. is growing on me a bit, but not as much as those first two. I kind of feel like for the Falcons, though, we are already kind of set at that position, unless the coaches don't believe that Troy Anderson is going to make a return, right? Because Nate Landman has played well, but my question always becomes, like, is he playing well like some of those undrafted free agent linebackers played for us, right? I don't think so. I think he's a different guy there, but I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that that's going to be a great difference between what he does and what those guys do. And forgive me, their names slipped my memory, but there was one year where we had 2 undrafted free agent linebackers starting for us, and people were convinced and trying to convince me that, oh yeah, they got it, we don't need nothing else there. I'm like, nah, man, we can improve at that position, and please do. But yeah, I love Edrin Cooper. I think he's a baller. Junior Colson, I think he's a baller. And again, Jeremiah Trotter, it's growing on me. I think he would do well. I think he's better at coverage than probably the other two, but the other two are probably better at everything else you want a linebacker to do than him. Corners I like down the board, right? Because I don't imagine that my fairy tales will come true. I like Renardo Green at FSU. I think he's a really good player. I don't like Mike Samersdale as much as other people do, apparently. Because I saw someone, you got to take him at 43. And I don't want him at 43, right? We got Phillips to play the slot, right? Why would we go out and draft a cornerback who can only play the slot? Like, I don't get it, but, not for me to get. I like Andrew Phillips a bit. I like Kalen Carson a bit. Really, I think cornerback is the deepest position, most likely, in this draft. And a lot of people say wide receiver. And I think wide receiver is good, too. But I'm saying 7 rounds deep of quality potential starters, I think cornerback far outpaces any other position that's available in this draft. So much so that when I tell you that I like Quinion Mitchell so much I would take him at 8, it's because I see him in the same light that I saw Sauce. Yes, I see him in the same light that I saw Sauce a couple years ago. I think he is a can't miss prospect, and I think he's going to be fantastic in the league. So it's a lot of stuff around here. The offensive tackle that I really like, I'm looking at only the later ones because I don't imagine we'll take one early, is Christian Jones out of Texas. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I'm trying to figure out what I am seeing that no one else potentially is, because I don't see his name called more often than I thought it would, right? Coming out from watching him play at Texas and then what he did at the Senior Bowl, I was like, this kid, this is a 2nd-round pick, right? This kid can start. And nobody else seems to be talking about it, so I always check with am I missing something? Maybe I'm putting too much, right? Maybe I'm putting too much dip on my chip, as they say. But I really like him at an offensive tackle. At guards, I like Zach Zinter. At tackle, I also like Blake Fisher, the other kid out of Notre Dame. I was watching some tape on him earlier today. I was like, okay, he could work. He reaches a bit, right? Gets out over his toes, which I think is bad. But I don't know if it'll be any better or worse than what we have currently with Caleb. Because I definitely think we could improve there. And this might just be the dog in me. I think Cedric Van Prang Ranger is going to be one of the best pros to come out of this draft. And I think the potential of us not taking him to take over for Drew Dahlman is a mistake. I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if everything will line up where that's a possibility. But I like him a lot. I like him a whole lot. I like a lot of the centered in this draft a lot, and I like him most of all. And it might just be because I'm a dog or a root for Georgia that I see it that way. But he's got it. He's got it, like leadership, talent, brains, all of it. But we'll see. Hopefully this helps somebody. Again, just because you saw a draft board somewhere doesn't mean it's the actual one that your team has. So rest light, move easy, go with God. Peace out.